Hi, welcome back to another weapons in Warframe that have multiplicative condition overload scaling are really good video. In today's video, I have slipped on the apron and I've become a master chef. I have cooked up a very spicy Syam build, but before I get into the build, I will explain how you get the Syam. You get the Syam from Tashin's Cave in Deviri for either 50 Pathos clamps, which unlocks the drifter version of the weapon and you will have to craft the Warframe version afterwards, or you can get it with Platinum, which gets you both the drifter version as well as the Warframe version straight away. The insane damage of the Syam comes from its heavy attacks. The heavy attacks have a gimmick. You either have this horizontal wave or a vertical wave if you do 2 heavy attacks in quick succession. The vertical wave can also deal headshots on enemies. Both waves do pure heat damage, which combines to any other element that you mod for on the weapon, so take care if you want to use heat. Do not put on electricity, for instance, because it will turn into radiation damage. The horizontal wave has 500 heat damage base and the vertical one has 1500 heat damage base. These waves also proc impact damage as well. These waves have a 70-meter range and travel across the geometry of the level. Very nicely, this simulacrum is 70 meters across, so you will see the wave travel straight down the geometry all the way to the end, which looks like this. So it follows the stairs and everything and then goes all the way there. This wave also goes through walls, which you can see right there. So you can stand behind walls and still spam this ability. And this heavy attack is what makes the Syam do crazy damage. So before I get into the builds for the Syam, I've made 2 builds for the Syam. I want to explain why I'm using Loki. First, let's go over the Archon shards. I'm using 2 Emerald Archon shards for armor strip with corrosive damage. Then I'm using 3 Tau Forged Violet Archon shards for extra melee critical damage, which is doubled when you have over 500 energy. So going into the Loki build, this is what the Loki build looks like. If you want, you can change out both of these primed mods for their base versions, which still has a very good potential on this build. So you will lose a bit of duration, and even with a normal flow, you will still meet the requirement for the Violet Archon shard. So if you do not have primed flow, you will still have enough energy. I was running into some energy issues in missions where there were low amounts of enemies around, so low enemy density, which is why I opted to put on Equilibrium, so if I kill Xmas units, I get some energy from the health orbs that they drop as well. I am using 2 Arcanes, the Arcane Strike and Arcane Fury. Arcane Strike is very nice to up the attack speed of the Syam because it's a little bit slow. The Arcane Fury, this melee damage adds up onto the same pool as Prime Pressure Point, which then is multiplied by the percentage of the condition overload scaling. I'm using Mobilize for extra parkour velocity in missions like Disruption and Void Cascade. This is absolutely amazing. However, this is a flex slot, so use whatever you like. I am using Safeguard Switch. This is an augment that I would highly recommend picking up. It turns you into just a completely invulnerable god once you switch teleport onto an enemy. And this invulnerability will also stay around even if there's nullifiers. So let's get a nullifier. There we go. So there you go, you switch teleport, and then this invulnerability, as you see, I'm in the bubble, but I'm still invulnerable. Okay, so then for the Helminth, I am using Wrathful Advance. This gives us 190% extra melee critical chance. Because Loki's 4th isn't that great, putting Wrathful Advance on his 4th was really nice because that allowed me to run Precision Intensify, which gives me a nice bit of ability strength without the drawbacks of like Transient Fortitude or Blind Rage. Decoy is now also buffed in a recent update, where Decoy inherits sort of the health values of the enemies it spawned around based on their level. So even on level cap, the decoy will stick around for a bit and helps draw away fire from you. So if you are reviving allies, if you are dealing with the Thrax unit or whatever, this is nice to just sort of direct enemy aggression away from you. And this also works in defense missions to override them attacking the defense objective. They will instead attack your decoy. If you are using a melee Crescendo build, which I will show in a bit, the arcanes change. So for a melee Crescendo, you would change this arcane strike into a mold arcane, either augmented or efficiency. Augmented is nice because it gives us extra melee critical chance from Wrathful Advance. Okay, so for the Syam build, there's two ways to build the Syam. The first one I've opted for is using Tennokai, and the second one is with melee Crescendo. In the first build, I am still running heavy attack efficiency because Wrathful Advance on our Loki is a heavy attack, so using that when you do not have Tennokai makes it so that you lose all of your heavy attack your combo multiplier, and we do not necessarily want that, so this makes it just a little bit more forgiving. But the Tennokai is more focused on using melee exposure for damage and having a quicker attack speed and sort of like more dynamic playstyle. I'm using a rank 6 reflex coil because using a rank 7 will not increase over the 90% cap that's on heavy attack efficiency. So that's it for the Tennokai build. Then for the Crescendo build, I'm using Primed Fever Strike, and I have this Riven with electricity and heavy attack efficiency. Melee Crescendo gives you initial combo, but this initial combo is still consumed on a heavy attack, and you drop all the way down to 0 after which it has to recharge. This recharging takes time, so if you are spamming your heavies, it will actually use the combo multiplier which it generated up to. So having heavy attack efficiency on this Riven is really beneficial because it allows us to drop down to maybe an 8 times multiplier, which is still really good damage, and it charges back up to 12 more quickly. But I needed the corrosive damage just to deal with Acolytes, which is also why melee exposure is here in the Tennokai build. It's because Acolytes are weak to corrosive damage and high crit, which is exactly what we have. Of course, the main crux of this build is use Condition Overload. If you do not have Condition Overload, it will not perform the same at all. So those are the two Syam builds. Then for the primer and armor strip, I'm using the Kompressa with secondary encumber to up our damage as much as possible. If you are wondering why I'm not using Primed Fulmination doesn't work on the Kompressa, and I will quickly show that. So here we have Primed Fulmination on our Kompressa. We shoot at this little thing, and we have a look at where the waves sort of end up, so around there. Then if we take off Primed Fulmination, you will see that these waves are still the same size. There you go. So they're still up to there. So do not run Primed Fulmination on your Kompressa. It's my tip of the day. Then for primary, this is super flexible. I went for the Phantasma with primary accelerate just to keep my energy up. Like I said, I had some issues with low density missions. For the focus school, depending on what kind of content you are doing, it would be either Neramon or Medarai. I would use Medarai in things like Void Cascade or Circular Survival missions because you are dealing with Thrax and you would like to one-shot their ghost forms. If you are not running a mission with any Thrax units, it's completely fine using Neramon. If you are using the Crescendo build, it also means that you do not need Neramon to keep your combo multiplier. This is mainly for the Tennokai build. If you want to know how we build up melee Crescendo, we use this mod on our Sentinel weapon, which is called Arrow Periphery. If you do damage to enemies while you are aim gliding, it will put them to sleep, and this sleep opens them up for finishers. So I will illustrate that real quickly. You can deal damage with any weapon. So you aim glide, you shoot the enemy, and then you have this little thing sticking in them, which means they are asleep, which allows you to finish them off and then build your melee crescendo. So that's pretty much it for the builds. And with that, hope you enjoy your meal. Take care, super spicy, and have fun. Bye.